You know, something that is always striking to me, no matter how many times I think about it, is how unworthy we are. I mean, think about it. All these other, all these other factors and religious affiliations and everything, almost all of them say we have to earn our way into a semblance of heaven, or their version of heaven, or nirvana, or whatever you want to call it. But this just doesn't. And there's no clearer picture of it than this. Turn with me to John 3:16 if you would. It's a very familiar verse, but it's something that we need reminding of every day, and it's also one of my favorites. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. That, excuse me, that right there, that right there, basically says it all, doesn't it? It informs us that on our own we couldn't we couldn't do anything really. We couldn't get to God, we couldn't get to Jesus. We had to have him come down to save us because we can never be good enough for him. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying to just be lazy and to just be passive and to just say, oh, I can't be good enough, so I'm not going to try to better myself. No, that's not what I'm saying. And that's not what this is saying either. There's always room for improvement, and because of Jesus, we have the we have the option and the responsibility to be better than we were yesterday because of Jesus and because of his salvation. But at the same time, we have to remember that Jesus accepts us just as we are. He knows that we can never be good enough. We can never be good enough for him. We can never be good enough to stand in his presence. So yeah, that's something a lot of people and a lot of people get bogged down in. Take the Pharisees for example. They were so bogged down in the law and following the law to very letter and concerned with almost earning their position in in God's eyes that they couldn't see that what they were doing was doing more harm than good to their society. But then Jesus came along and said, "No, I know what your rules say, but you can't do that anymore. You can't. You're alienating people. You're setting a standard that you yourself can't live up to." So, yes, that's just something that a lot of people struggle with. That's something that gets to a lot of people when they think, "Oh, I can never be good enough. I can never be good enough anyway. I'm so bad. I can, like, I've done this, and this, and this, and this, and everything under the sun." But you can never be good enough for God. But because of Jesus, He's made a way that when God looks at us now, those who have accepted Christ and know Him in a very intimate way, when God looks at us now, He sees the Son, and He sees someone who is worthy. He sees someone who God doesn't need someone who's good enough, because, as I said, no one can be good enough for Him. God just needs someone who will be obedient, as someone who trusts Him, as someone who takes the first step in faith, not knowing what the future holds, but to trust Him and to love Him in such a way that they'll give their all for Him, even knowing that they could never be good enough for Him. Aren't you glad that you serve a God and we serve a God that says we don't have to really try because we can't? We serve a God who knew we can, and in spite of that, sent His Son, to save us from ourselves so that we can one day live in eternity and happiness and tranquility and joy with Him. Guys, God doesn't expect you to be good enough, as I said. And honestly, you shouldn't expect that of yourself. The only thing you should expect of yourself is to try to be better for the Lord than you were yesterday, because that's ultimately what He deserves, and that's ultimately something that's gonna give you unfulfilled joy and unfulfilled happiness the quicker you rise and accept that. Guys, I love you. God bless you. I'll see you next week.